Welcome to today's Powerboost. So today, our topic is choosing your habits. Choosing your habits. Usually when we think of habits, we think of mostly those that are negative, and we ought to remember more often that we can have and do have good habits. And in fact, many of the actions that we perform are habits, but we don't think of them as such. And so what might come to mind in terms of habit might be brushing your teeth, or making sure that whenever you leave your home, you are properly attired. After all, there's nothing natural about how you dress. That's a choice that you make. Certainly, you don't necessarily have to wear shoes. There's nothing necessarily natural about that, but you do. So there are things that we put in practice that are habit forming, and we don't think of them as such. And so most of the time when we think of habits, they are bad ones that we're trying to get rid of. So today, I want to use this Power Boost to remind you that you are at choice with regard to habits, and you can therefore choose empowering habits, habits that will bring about transformation in the most effective way, because as you well know, habits are not easy to give up. So having good habits would be very, very beneficial. So I want to share with you a small excerpt from an interview I was listening to by a famous cricketer. If your upbringing has been mostly in the United States, the game of cricket might not mean anything to you. But in many, many parts of the world, especially the former British colonies as well, and of course the United Kingdom itself, that still may be the most popular game. A young cricketer by the name of Alvin Kallicharran, who was a very accomplished batsman, what might be called a batter in baseball. And he, in an interview, he was asked, how is it that when he came out to bat, he immediately seemed to have full concentration? In other words, unlike so many others, he didn't have any period of time that he had to, we might say, play himself in. So he wasn't cautious because he just started his innings. if there was any loose balls, immediately that would be dispatched. And so he was in full concentration from the time he came out to bat. So he was asked, how is it that he was able to do that? And he had a very interesting answer. And I want to take the time and read it for you, and then we'll talk about it. So, in answer to the question, here's what he said. He said that you have to make simple things a habit. And when you do, it becomes second nature. And it creates consistency. So this habit becomes consistent. Then he went on to say that consistency leads to discipline. And with discipline comes concentration. And when you have concentration, the game is simplified. When you have concentration, the game is simplified. Of course, he was referring to the game of cricket. My listening heard something else that would be simplified the way he described it: habit, consistency, discipline, concentration. And of course, that applies equally to the game of life. Because if you can develop your concentration, which is a power that you have, then the game of life is simplified. Because our focus, our way of relating to things, and how well we absorb and understand is a function of our concentration. And without realizing it these days, our concentration is dispersed and not focused. And so what he's saying is you can cultivate the right habits that would bring about in you a way of being focused and fully in concentration all the time. And so what I want you to think about today with regard to the way you are playing life's game is how you can develop your own concentration in every sphere, such that it becomes natural. You develop the consistency, you develop the discipline, and you have that level of focus all the time. And of course, not only in sport, but in every facet of life, those who develop the habits that support the outcome that they want are very, very successful. And you find it in, of course, all of the most famous people in sport or famous people in any profession, that there's something that they are doing, some habit-forming part of their itinerary that is promoting and supporting the successful outcome that they're having. So I want you to ask yourself today, what habit do you need to choose to develop that would support your concentration and support your destination? We're talking about a power within that you can emerge in such a way that you are focused and in full concentration the moment you take your stand in whatever you're doing. So, what habit do you need to cultivate? What habit do you need to make natural and consistent and disciplined? It may be the time you get up in the morning. It may be the time you go to bed. It may be the time you have your meals. It may be the time that you rest, the amount of time that is. And all of those things are habits that you can cultivate. But of course, we're not just talking about time, are we? Here at the meditation center, we would focus on your developing your concentration through meditation, where you make time for that. And so you would want to cultivate that habit by setting aside not only the time, but the place that you would do your meditation, whether it's going to be for 5 minutes or 10 minutes or 15 minutes. And if you do that consistently, then you would have the discipline, and of course, you would naturally, with all of the steps that we have noted, get to a place where your concentration becomes natural and that you are internally focused, and this sense of calm and confidence that we find lacking becomes very natural. And so pause in the minutes that we take this time out for your power boosts to ask yourself that question. What habit do I need to choose? As I was saying earlier, we focus a lot of time on removing bad habits. So we're turning the tables around today and having you make a choice of habit that will empower you, a choice of habit that becomes so natural, effort is no longer needed once you get past the consistency and the discipline. So stay within. And ask that question of yourself. Only you know what your destination is. Only you know what your specific goals are. So it may mean working backwards from there. What are my goals? What are my intentions? What is it that I want to accomplish? And working backwards from there, you will know what needs to be put in place. And that is what you want to make a habit of. And you want to cultivate that habit such that it would be like leaving your home that you would never do without shoes, because that has become ingrained. As I said, it's not anything natural, but you have made it so. So what do you need to make natural that would support your goals, support the destination that's been so elusive? Because that is the difference between success and failure. Having that consistency, having that discipline. So let's stay with that for a moment. And for each of you listening, you should have one or two things that you will begin to work on. So this choosing of a habit, you can build in to your life from today onwards, because there are so many things that become habits without our necessarily realizing that we're at choice about it. We are habitual about how much television we watch. We are habitual about how much money we spend. We are habitual about how much alcohol we may consume. We are habitual about how much time we spend away from home. And all of those can be transformed by changing that habit that has resulted in those things that are costing you either time or money or even relationships. And so what we are alerting you today to is that power of concentration that is there for you to develop and to use. For us here at the Meditation Center, we would certainly encourage you to develop the meditation habit, However, there are other very important things that you may want to attend to at the same time, and so that you are not restricted to one good habit forming behavior that would lead you to the goals you have in mind. And so let's stay with that today. Let us choose new habits, good habits. And this is a very personal choice, because you will naturally choose what's good and what's better with regard to your own journey, your own destination. What the process will lead to is a stable mind. What the process will lead to is one who is at cause all the time and not at effect. So it puts you in charge. So have that choice of habit today that will transform your life and have you be fully satisfied with regard to wherever you feel you're coming up short. Om Shanti.